Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're very excited to start our 2020 Cerebral Creatine Deficiency Syndromes virtual conference. We'll be starting shortly. I hope everyone can hear me. If not, I'll hear from our team here. Hi, everyone. So my name is Trutoiu. I'm the Director of Research for the Association for Creatine Deficiencies. And it's my pleasure to welcome you and start this 2 days of scientific talks that are going to have in the audience both scientists and families. So my goal for this talk is to kind of lay the ground of what's coming ahead, what the upcoming talks are, and also give you an overview of the Association for Creatine Deficiencies, what we do, and a couple of the statistics of what's happening behind the scenes. So I wish we would have been in person and I could have seen all of you in the audience. We have 50 plus people already joining. And in 2018, we did that. We had 100 people in the audience live in Austin, Texas, and it was a fabulous conference. On the left-hand side, you can see one of the sessions, but we also had fun. And on the right-hand side, you can see a good part of our SMAB acting out goofy. And unfortunately, the world didn't cooperate with us, so we couldn't have this conference in person. So we're going to try to make the best out of a meeting over Zoom. And to that, I have 3 very important things that we can do to get the most out of it. So the first one is please use the Q&A box in your Zoom interface. So that will, as soon as you think of a question during the talk, I would urge you to enter it and specify which speaker the question is addressed to. And the reason why we're doing that is because speakers are going to have 20 minutes to talk. There are going to be 2 speakers per session, and then there's going to be a panel Q&A session. You can also be social and use the chat box. So to do a little test, I think it would be great if everyone could go to their chat box and say where they are in the world. And that's for commenting and being social and raising whatever issues you feel relevant. But for the questions, the Q&A box is the way to go, right? We're not going to monitor the chat box to pull out more questions from there. And last but not least, we're also going to use polls in the first and the very last session of the conference. And this is an opportunity for you to let us know something about your interest and what you would like to see more in future conferences. Okay, so you're probably wondering who is in this audience, right? I know I was, and I looked at the pre-registrations we had yesterday, and we had over 150 pre-registrations, and that represented 17 countries. So a lot of time zones to span, which is one of the challenges to kind of balance out these talks so that we can welcome our fellow researchers and families. I'm gonna stop share, I think. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna welcome our families from Europe as well as from Australia. So the time zone had to match at least a little bit. But we also have a lot of other countries represented, like Argentina and India and Serbia. So it was really nice to see this diversity in attendance. And in terms of background, about 40% of the pre-registrations were from families. So these are parents and caregivers that were very interested in finding out more about creatine deficiencies. But we also have the 60% of researchers and industry representatives and physicians. So I would urge the speakers to give the scientific content, and I'm sure that the families and parents are going to ask questions if something is unclear. Okay, so now we're going to do a little poll, like this is what we had as pre-registration, but I'm curious what your background is in the audience at this moment where we have like 63 people already attending. So I'm seeing numbers coming in. I'll give it, a minute to see how things stack up. I think we've had about 70% voting, 72. Okay, this is great. Let's see if I get to that 80% mark. Great, okay. So I'm gonna end the poll now, and here are the results, right? And this is similar to what we were seeing before, right? Like we have about 40% families and the rest from academia/industry. Okay. So this is what the schedule is going to look like for our 2 half days. We are in the very first session of the talk. We had an amazing keynote talk on Sunday. I'm sure some of you attended. This is going to be over in another 15 minutes. We're going to have another 20-minute talk from Ethan Perlstein, and then we're going to do a panel Q&A that covers both of the speakers. So once again, keep in mind that if you have questions, I would type them in the Q&A box now, don't wait, and you can say question for Laura or question for Ethan as they come across. And for the panel, we have 2 moderators, a scientific moderator and the parent voice moderator that are gonna take turns and alternatively ask questions from the speakers. Okay, so the way we put together this conference is a part of the work was done by the Association for Creating Deficiency Board of Directors. We're all volunteers, we're all parents. I almost wanted to put a tag there of just moms, right? But I think the results speak for themselves. And we had the amazing support from 4 other members of our community, Sangeeta Iyer, who's joined us as scientific advisor. Both her and I have put together the conference program. Andrea Becerra and Melinda Maddock were the conference logistics amazing coordinators that made sure that all of this can happen over Zoom. And we have a very special guest from Extraordinaire, Carol Chioa, who's gonna speak a little bit. So we're gonna hear from 21 speakers, 4 industry talks, and we're very excited about the industry partners that are sharing their latest results with us. And we have 15 moderators from the patient community. And you probably know this by now, but for us, for the Association for Creating Deficiencies, our mission is to get to effective treatments and newborn screening for all 3 cerebral creatine deficiencies. And we've been founded since 2012, and we've done a lot of work in community building and education and advocacy, and you've seen our materials. And in the past 2 years, we focused really hard on integrating more with the research community. You probably heard these acronyms, and you're going to hear them over and over in the next 2 days, AGAT, GAMT, and CTD. And these are the names for the deficiencies, right? Like AGAT deficiency, GAMT deficiency, and creatine transporter deficiencies. And what I want to point out here is that behind all of these acronyms, there are at least a handful of like lovely kiddos and now lovely adults that represent this community, right? So I just want to put that out there of like, keep in mind the amazing people that are behind just the acronyms. We of course have the support of a great network, research network in our scientific and medical advisory board. And here you can see our 2020 members. We've been expanding and growing as the research needs have grown for the community. Some of the questions that are probably gonna come up is like, what is the prevalence of this disease, right? And Dr. Sadet Andrews from our SMAB has put together a couple of research papers that look at estimated carrier frequencies for creatine deficiency disorders, and I urge you to go and read that. And of course, we have our own numbers from the ACD community, and what we know here is that we have 145 CTD patients, 64 GAMT patients, and 7 AGAT patients. But the important thing to look is also how steep this growing curve has been, and more people are finding us and more people are getting diagnosed. So I think we're gonna, and we know that all of these deficiencies are massively underdiagnosed, so we assume that the community is only gonna keep growing. And now I would like to welcome Carol Chioa to tell you a little bit about our sister organization in France, Extraordinaire, who's doing something very similar, and we work very closely together. Carol, can you unmute and have your video on? I'm gonna quickly see if Carol can be, let's see, ask to unmute and ask to start video. And if not, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about Extraordinaire too.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Hi, Carol, thanks for joining us and thanks for staying up so late.
Sorry for that.
Oh, no worries, I know there are quite families.
Okay, so good evening all. First, I would like to thank Laura and the ACD team, all speakers and attendees for this amazing first virtual conference on CCDS. ACD has been a great partner since we met in December 2016 in Paris, and we realized that together we are stronger. For those who don't know who I am, Carole Cheova, I represent today the CTD branch of Extraordinaire, a French non-profit association. We have a total of 58 CTD patients in our community, all as we call extraordinary children. Our main goals are to provide help and support to families, share information, fund research programs and projects, and increase awareness on CTD. Our recent and future actions are, as you can see on the second slide, focused on family events, research program funding, specific projects, and symposium on CTD. We have been very active in strengthening relationships with researchers, medical teams, and industries in order to become an essential partner and enhance visibility of patients' needs. As you can see on the list, beyond 2020, you can already mark in your calendar the next International European CTD Symposium that will take place in September 2022. Feel free to ask me any question. Thank you all.
Thanks so much, Carole. So one quick note is that Carole is also going to follow the Q&A section because we have such a good contingent of French families. So if you would prefer to ask your questions in French, please go ahead and do so. Carole is going to help us translate some of these and at least follow up on later on. Okay, so let me make sure, there we go. Okay, so in our community doesn't stop at the patients and the families, right? Like I think on Sunday, we also have our signature event, the Walk for Strength. And I know many of you in the audience participated, whether you are your families or researchers, and it includes neighbors and friends and Heidi's dentist and all of these people that come together as a community to kind of support us and support us in our goal to find treatments, right? So it's a really beautiful thing to see. And I want to give a shout out to the grandparents in particular that are in the audience and actually volunteer for the Association for Creatine Deficiencies, right? So it's parents, grandparents, and other caregivers. Okay, so how do we actually go about implementing our goal of getting more integrated into research and driving collaborative research? So one of the things that we've been doing very seriously for the past 2 years is apply for various grants. And we've been very lucky. We're part of the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative's Rare as One network. And I want to say a welcome to our audience members that may be from the Rare as One network. And the goal here is to kind of rise all the rare diseases at the same time and learn from each other. And this is a capacity building grant. We've also recently been awarded the NIH R13 grant. That's going to help us with a conference for next year. That's hopefully going to be in person. Last week, we submitted a full PCORI grant on core outcome sets for creatine deficiencies. And this is going to be great if it gets funded, but we got further this time. And some of the more nitty-gritty details that we've been doing is kind of try to centralize our data from our families and our patients. And we've partnered with Coriell and the NIGMS repository to have biosamples available for any researcher that needs access to them. We've also been a partner, one of 5-6 orgs that have partnered with Geisinger and ClinGen to curate mutations that are in our patient registry to then add them to ClinVar. And of course, since 2018, we've been very active players and we've initiated actually 3 of these 4 scientific meetings that have happened around CCDS. And the counter side to that is that we also want to fund research. So we are starting seed grants for tool development, and we had one in 2018. This year we started the Gene Therapy Consortium, which was funded by parents. We raised $50,000 and we said, okay, we're going to get all the players at the table and we're going to learn something. And we have a very exciting CCDS fellowship coming up soon. And Sangeeta Iyer, who's our scientific advisor, I mentioned her name earlier, is going to talk about all of these at the wrap up of the conference. So we hope you can stay with us. This is what you get when you go to Coriell and you search for cerebral creatine deficiencies. And I want to point out that a year ago there was nothing. So we've got quite a few samples, and we would love to partner with more academics that perhaps have already taken samples that they're storing in their own institutions and put them in decentralized locations so that they are widely accessible. And similarly, we encourage families to donate. We have instructions on our website of how this can happen. So I'm going to do a quick poll here too of, do actually these biosamples matter? Right, and I think here it's, do they matter for researchers? Do they matter for families? Have the families participated, or are they interested in participating again? So I'll take a minute to see how so we're already at 25%, and the numbers keep coming. I know, I see the numbers, the audience doesn't see them yet, but I'll wait until we get to like above 60%, and then I can share them. And hopefully this is a motivating factor both for the families and for the researchers. Okay, we're at 66%. This is great. Okay, I'm going to end the poll, and here are the results. So a lot more families that are interested in donating biosamples, which I think is great. I think there are researchers that are already using the biosamples in Coriell or their own biosamples, and there are a lot more researchers that are interested in using these biosamples. And there actually have a couple of people that have no use for biosamples, about 15%. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to bring up in this talk is kind of give you a meta view of where the CCDS research community and research network is at. And to leverage that, pun intended, I am referencing Meta, which is a PubMed-like tool from the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. So it's an aggregator and statistical analyzer for various papers. And because we are part of the Rare as One network, we have access to these statistics on that analyze the PubMed papers. So we have about 300 papers on PubMed, and luckily it's a very collaborative network. So we have 1,300 authors that participated in these and 2 clinical trials, right? And the other really cool thing is that these the researchers that author these papers are from all over the world, which indicates that very likely they have cases all over the world. And hopefully we're going to see even more countries in the next conference that we do. The other part is that I did my own analysis, and I was looking at if I search by keywords on PubMed for the 3 genes, so GAMT, GATM, which is the AGA gene, and SLC6A8. And here you can see plotted since 2005, the number of papers for each condition. And we're not really increasing, we're kind of stalling. So hopefully these kind of meetings are gonna help promote this and have more numbers coming up soon. And similarly, we have the trend from Meta this time of more accurate measure of the research publications, which is based on cerebral creatine deficiency syndromes as a keyword, right? And for 2020, we've had about 13 papers published already, and a lot of you speakers are here in the audience and are going to talk about this today. Again, I'm really hoping that in 2021, we're going to have the opportunity to meet in person for the Scientific and Patient CCDS Symposium in Park City, Utah. And please feel free to reach out with questions or even ideas for how to structure and make the best out of the meeting. A big thank you to Dr. Miller, who gave the talk on Sunday, the keynote talk, and thank you to our amazing lineup of speakers that are coming up for the next couple of days.